The Orion cluster was burning. Fires of distant starships lit the dark void, twisting metal and hulls into shapes that seemed almost alive in their destruction. Among the chaos, Captain Adrian Vale maneuvered his human fighter through the debris, his hands steady, his eyes sharp. He had been through countless battles, but this one felt different. It was more than a fight for territory or politics. This battle had something personal, though he didn't yet know what. Adrian's squadron had been sent to assist a group of alien colonies caught in a skirmish between the Zalarian Empire and the Vreshka Raiders. Humans were few in the Orion cluster, often underestimated, yet today Adrian felt the weight of every human reputation on his shoulders. His sensors picked up movement ahead, an escape pod drifting towards the void, almost invisible in the starfield. He froze for a moment. The pod's signature was small, almost childlike. And then the distress beacon hit him, an automated pulse. It wasn't just a pod, it contained life. A small alien child was trapped inside. Adrian's heart tightened. He had faced countless soldiers, war machines, and alien beasts, but something about a child in danger made him act without hesitation. "Delta 4, cover me," he barked over the comms. His squadron obeyed instantly, peeling off toward the incoming enemy fighters. Adrian's fighter dipped into a tight orbit around the pod, shields humming as he fired a tractor beam to stabilize it. The child's pod was barely holding together. Sparks flew from the hull and smoke curled from its sides like ghostly fingers. Adrian knew there wasn't much time. He engaged the pod's docking clamps and prepared to board. In his mind, the rules didn't matter, orders didn't matter. A child's life mattered. He kicked the thrusters and hurtled himself toward the pod, docking clamps grabbing with a screech. Inside, the pod was smaller than any human vessel he had seen, curved in strange angles and glowing faintly with a soft blue light. The child was inside, wide-eyed, trembling. Its skin was pale with hints of silver, and its eyes glowed faintly with a strange inner light. Adrian approached carefully. "Hey," he said gently, though the words sounded rough to his own ears. "I'm here to help, don't be afraid." The hull had taken a direct hit from a Vreshka fighter, and alarms blared like screams in the silence of space. Adrian cursed under his breath and looked back at his squadron. "Delta 4, we've got a fire starting here. Cover me while I—" The child screamed, a high-pitched sound that made Adrian's stomach twist. He ignored the pain in his hands from the burns and cuts he had already taken, focusing entirely on the little life in front of him. He grabbed the child and ran toward the emergency hatch, punching in override codes he didn't even fully understand. The pod's AI tried to resist, but Adrian's will was stronger. He had never given up in battle, and he wasn't about to start now. The hatch opened, and he dragged the child into his arms. Outside, the battlefield raged like a storm. Enemy fighters zipped past, and explosions painted the void in white and orange. Adrian's fighter shuddered as he engaged the thrusters and pulled the pod into the larger ship that had arrived to extract him. Just as relief washed over him, a blinding explosion rocked the pod. Adrian froze. The pod was gone, consumed by fire and shrapnel. His stomach dropped, but he had already carried the child away. He was safe, or at least they were for the moment. "Are you all right?" Adrian asked, voice rough from shouting and tension. The child nodded slowly, eyes wide and still glowing faintly. Its small hands clung to his armor. Adrian smiled, feeling an unexpected warmth. This child, fragile and alien, had somehow anchored him in the chaos. Who are you?" the child asked in a soft, trembling voice. Its speech was broken, almost musical, but Adrian could understand a few words. I'm Adrian. I'll get you home," he said firmly. "I promise." When they finally reached the surface of the Zalarian colony, Adrian's relief turned to horror. Enemy fighters had already landed, and destruction was everywhere. Buildings were burning, smoke curled into the sky, and the sound of sirens and alarms filled the air. The child clung to him tighter, whimpering. Adrian ran through the chaos, dodging debris and fallen structures. He carried the child with one arm, firing with the other, moving with speed that surprised even him. They reached a small courtyard that offered a momentary safe haven. Adrian set the child down gently. The child looked up at him, fear mingling with gratitude in its glowing eyes. "Go," Adrian said. "You need to find your family." "You saved me, don't go." "You're stronger than you think. Survive, that's what matters." Then he ran toward the incoming enemy, a human against a tide of alien fighters determined to buy the child a chance to escape. Lasers fired around him, and Adrian dodged with skill honed over decades of battle. His own ship shuddered from a direct hit, alarms blaring. The ground trembled under the explosion of falling structures. He didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Human instinct, stubbornness, and courage pushed him forward. He destroyed one raider after another, drawing their fire away from the child. His hands burned from controls, his body ached, but Adrian's mind was singularly focused. Keep the child alive. Then it happened. A massive Vreshka warship descended from orbit, targeting the courtyard. Adrian knew he couldn't outrun it, couldn't fight it alone. He shouted over the comms, trying to reach any surviving allies. Silence. Only the distant hum of battle surrounded him. Adrian made a decision, one final act. He aimed directly at the warship's power core. His fighter shuddered violently as he engaged every system at once. The explosion was colossal. Light and heat consumed him, and for a moment Adrian's mind went blank. He thought of the child, of the human families he had left behind, of the galaxies he would never see again. And then darkness. When Adrian awoke, he was not in a coffin, nor drifting in space. He opened his eyes to a soft, pulsating light, the walls of a room unlike anything he had ever seen. The air was warm, and a strange scent filled his senses, sweet, metallic, almost alive. His body felt heavy, yet strangely strong. He tried to move, and his limbs obeyed without pain. A voice echoed softly in his mind, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. "Welcome back, Adrian Vale. You have slept long, but the galaxy remembers you." He tried to speak, but no words came at first. Slowly he whispered, how long?" Not human, but not alien in the grotesque ways he had seen in battle. It was familiar, graceful, regal. The eyes, he recognized them immediately. "Lyra," he breathed, though the name felt strange on his tongue. The figure nodded, a soft smile lighting her face. "You saved me," she said simply, "and because of that you will see a galaxy changed. Because of you, humanity is remembered." And somewhere deep inside, Adrian Vale knew that his story was far from over. Adrian Vale blinked against the soft glow of the chamber. The walls hummed faintly, as if alive, and strange lights danced across the smooth surfaces. He tried to move fully, but a gentle force held him in place, not like a trap, more like guidance. His body felt new, almost restored, strengthened beyond what he remembered, yet familiar enough to be his own. For a moment he wondered if he had died and gone somewhere strange, some afterlife shaped by alien minds. Then he saw her. Lyra, not the small, frightened child from the pod, but fully grown, regal, and radiating calm authority. She walked slowly toward him, her silver-blue skin reflecting the chamber's light. Her eyes glowed faintly, just like when he first saw her, but now they held the weight of decades of experience, of power, and of a life that had been shaped in part by his sacrifice. "You're awake," she said softly. Her voice was melodic, clear, and oddly comforting. "I was afraid you might never wake. And the galaxy has changed. The battle, the colony, the child." His voice cracked as memories pressed against him like waves. Lyra's face softened, and she stepped closer. "I am that child," she said simply. "You saved me, Adrian Vale. You gave me life when everything around us was chaos. Without you, I would not be here today. Without you, my people might have been lost to war. I owe everything to you." How powerful are you now?" he asked, trying to make sense of what he saw. Lyra's presence was calm, but there was an intensity beneath it that reminded him of the strongest leaders he had ever fought with, both human and alien. "I lead the Empire," she said simply. "I am not just a figurehead. Decisions I make shape entire star systems. Wars have been won or lost because of choices made in my council chambers. And through it all, humans, your people, have been remembered. Your bravery has become legend among my kind." Somehow, a simple act of courage, saving a child, had become a cornerstone of an interstellar legacy. "Legend," he repeated, his voice low. "You mean humans are respected now?" "Courage, sacrifice, intelligence, qualities that some of my species never fully understood until now. You are remembered as the first human who proved it." But the thought that his actions had shaped the galaxy, that humans were now seen differently because of him, it was overwhelming. Lyra approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "And now you have returned. Your presence, your mind, your experience, they are needed again. The galaxy faces threats even greater than the ones you remember. And I want you to help me protect it. You see possibilities where others see obstacles. You act when others hesitate. That is why I need you. That is why the galaxy needs humans." Perhaps this was just another form of battle, a larger stage, but the principles were the same: courage, strategy, and sacrifice. Lyra gestured toward a massive viewport. Outside, the view was staggering. Star systems stretched in every direction, colonies glimmering like jewels and fleets of ships moving in synchronized patterns. The galaxy was alive, vibrant, and dangerous. All of this, she said, exists because you acted, because humans act when it matters, but danger is coming. Forces that seek to dominate and destroy are gathering. You were given a second chance, Adrian. Will you help us? It was in their nature to rise, and now, somehow, he had been given a chance to rise again. I don't know what the future holds, he said finally, voice steady. But I know this: if humans can make a difference, I'll be part of it. What do I need to do? Alliances have shifted, empires have risen and fallen, and humans are scattered. Many of our neighbors fear humans, and some still doubt your intentions. You will need to rebuild trust, show ingenuity, and remind them that humans can be allies, sometimes the only ones capable of facing certain threats. You've shaped the empire, but are you safe? Not just as a soldier, but as a symbol. Lyra led him through the halls of the alien palace, a marvel of architecture that seemed alive, as if the building itself responded to the emotions of those within it. Hallways twisted and turned in ways that seemed impossible, yet Adrian walked them naturally. His senses, honed in human battles, adapted quickly to the alien design. They reached a council chamber filled with holographic displays, star maps, and figures representing various species. Aliens of all shapes and sizes turned to look at him as he entered, eyes reflecting curiosity, caution, and admiration. Adrian realized even then that his presence carried weight. These beings had heard stories. They knew who humans could be because of him. Lyra gestured for him to sit, and a chair adjusted automatically to fit his human form. These are my council members, she explained. They make decisions for the Empire, but many of them still need to see humans in action to believe in our alliance fully. Your first task is to help us plan strategies against the coalition gathering beyond our borders. They threaten all of humanity and our allies. Humans had always thrived on challenges like this, and now he was back in the midst of one. Hours passed, and Adrian realized that the galaxy had indeed changed, but the principles of courage, ingenuity, and perseverance remained constant. Humans had a place even now. And perhaps with his guidance, they could shape events again, just as they had once done so quietly, in ways no one else expected. As the first meeting ended, Lyra turned to him once more. There will be danger ahead. Some battles will be fought with fleets, others with diplomacy, and some with courage alone. But remember this, Adrian, you inspired me, a single child, to believe in the power of humans. Now the galaxy itself may need that same inspiration. And you are it. And now it was time to prove once again that humans could change the fate of worlds. Adrian spent the next few days learning about the galaxy he had missed. Lyra guided him through reports, star charts, and intelligence files, showing him how her empire had grown and how humans had become a legend among alien civilizations. Ships named after human heroes patrolled the borders. Strategists spoke of human cunning in hushed tones. Entire colonies had begun adapting human-style tactics in defense and diplomacy. Adrian could hardly believe it, all because of one act, a single decision to save a child. But the galaxy was not peaceful. Reports of hostile coalitions had grown more alarming each day. An alliance of systems called the Galactic Union had begun moving aggressively toward the outer territories. Their fleets were large, disciplined, and ruthless, composed of species who viewed humans as unpredictable and dangerous, but were confident they could crush any human-led resistance. Lyra's empire was now the first barrier between the Union and the scattered human colonies. Adrian stood on a viewing platform overlooking a massive fleet anchored in the Empire's spaceport. Ships of every size and shape stretched as far as the eye could see. He felt a strange thrill, a mix of anticipation and fear. The humans of his own time would have called this overwhelming, but humans thrived on overwhelming odds. It was in their nature to take impossible situations and turn them into victories. Lyra approached quietly. "Are you ready?" she asked. Her eyes, calm and sharp, seemed to weigh his soul. Adrian turned to her. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted, "but I know what humans do in situations like this. We don't wait for hope, we make it. You will train our elite units first, soldiers who can think like humans, fight like humans, and survive like humans. Your presence alone will inspire them, but your guidance will make them formidable." Humans relied on adaptability, unpredictability, and improvisation, qualities that alien forces often overlooked. Adrian demonstrated simple drills at first: decision-making under pressure, trusting instincts, teamwork in unpredictable conditions. He emphasized observation and rapid adaptation. Aliens who had trained in rigid formations struggled at first, but Adrian's persistence and practical lessons quickly showed results. "Watch," Adrian said one afternoon, gesturing toward a simulated battlefield. "A predictable attack is easy to block, but if you move unpredictably, if you communicate without speaking, if you take risks wisely, you control the battlefield. Humans win not because we are stronger, but because we think differently." Their skills grew exponentially, and Adrian could see the excitement and energy returning to them, something he had seen in human recruits back on Earth. Beyond the training, Adrian spent time with Lyra in council sessions, planning defenses, predicting enemy movements, and discussing diplomacy. He noticed patterns in the Galactic Union's deployments. They relied heavily on overwhelming numbers, using fear to control weaker systems. Their leaders underestimated humans, assuming predictability and caution. Adrian saw openings, weaknesses that could be exploited if approached creatively. "I see their fleet," he explained one evening, pointing at a holographic display. "They expect linear attacks. They don't account for deception. If we split forces in a way that makes them misread our positions, we can draw them into traps. And if we use our fastest ships to hit critical systems, we can slow their advance long enough for reinforcements to arrive." Humans were legendary, yes, but relying on one human mind to reshape an entire war. Many of them found the idea hard to accept, but Lyra trusted Adrian, and her trust carried authority. "You have 50 years of knowledge, Adrian," she said softly. "Not just from humans, but from the galaxy itself. Use it. Show them why humans are worth remembering." He understood that this battle would not be just one fight. It would be a series of engagements, a test of patience, strategy, and human intuition. He called together his first mission leaders, a combination of human advisors who had survived in colonies and alien officers who had trained under him. "The enemy thinks they understand us," he began, voice firm. "They think they can predict our moves because they see humans as reckless, emotional, or simple. But humans do not wait for permission. We act, we adapt, we find opportunity in chaos. And chaos is all they are giving us. Use it, learn from it, and never ever underestimate the power of initiative." Adrian pushed the units to their limits, creating chaotic environments with unexpected obstacles and enemy tactics. He encouraged split-second decision-making and rewarded creativity. Slowly, the officers began to grasp the human mindset, daring, inventive, and unafraid to act decisively when others hesitated. But training alone was not enough. Adrian also needed to rebuild human reputation across the galaxy. Many systems had only heard stories, tales of bravery twisted by fear, legends of human recklessness. Adrian traveled with Lyra to meet representatives of allied colonies, showing them not just words, but human tactics in live exercises. Demonstrations of fleet coordination, defensive strategy, and bold maneuvers impressed even the most skeptical leaders. During one such demonstration, Adrian orchestrated a simulated ambush, using a small fleet to lure a much larger force into a trap. The aliens watched in astonishment as the smaller force outmaneuvered and outsmarted their opponents, exploiting gaps and predicting enemy responses before they happened. It was not brute force, it was human ingenuity. After the exercise, Lyra approached Adrian. "They will never forget this," she said, her voice filled with awe. "Humans are not just remembered, they are revered. That's how we survive, and that's how we win." One morning, Adrian stood on a command deck overlooking the galaxy's edge. Reports indicated the Union had mobilized an enormous strike force, intending to overwhelm Lyra's empire before humans could respond. Adrian's mind raced, analyzing every movement, every possibility. "They're moving faster than we anticipated," Lyra said quietly, joining him. "If they hit the outer colonies first, it could trigger panic. We could lose support before the main fleet even engages." "I trust you, Adrian. You have guided me before, and now you guide all of us. The galaxy may fear humans, but they will learn to respect us." His human perspective, combined with alien technology and resources, created a force that no one, neither ally nor enemy, had anticipated. When the first engagement finally occurred at the outer colonies, it was chaos, but chaos controlled by humans. The Galactic Union expected easy victories, but Adrian's tactics forced them into disarray. Smaller human-led units intercepted supply lines, diverted attention, and hit critical systems. Larger fleets expecting linear attacks were forced to split and respond in ways that diluted their strength. Adrian's eyes followed the reports, heart pounding. "Keep the pressure here," he ordered. "Predict their reactions but stay flexible. Don't follow patterns. Make them react to us, not the other way around. You've done more than train troops. You've changed the way our enemies see the galaxy. Humans are not just legend anymore, they are a force to be reckoned with." The Krathic Union would regroup. The battles ahead would be tougher and sacrifices would be necessary. Yet Adrian felt ready. Humans thrived against the impossible, and now more than ever he was determined to prove why. The day of the battle arrived. Adrian stood on the command deck of Lyra's flagship, a massive vessel that gleamed with polished metal and humming energy cores. Through the wide viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, dotted with the incoming fleets of the Krathic Union. Thousands of ships, all moving in precise formations, each vessel bristling with weapons designed to destroy worlds. Adrian's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the familiar thrill of impossible odds. Lyra joined him silently, standing tall beside the human captain. Her presence radiated calm authority, and yet beneath it was the tension of responsibility for millions of lives. "They are bigger than expected," she said softly. "Even with your training, the fight will be brutal. That's our advantage. Deploy the decoy fleets," he ordered. "Draw them in, split their formation. Lead the vanguard into positions where their numbers become a liability. Their overconfidence will be their weakness." Missiles detonated in patterns that forced the enemy into tight corridors, while human-led units struck from unexpected angles. Chaos erupted across the battlefield, yet every movement Adrian orchestrated had a purpose. On the surface, Lyra's ground forces readied themselves. The capital's defenses were extensive, but the Union's fleet threatened to overwhelm them if the battle extended too long. Adrian's plan relied on precision and timing. Ground and space forces had to work in perfect harmony, even as chaos reigned around them. The first major engagement saw Union cruisers attempting to bypass outer defenses and strike at the heart of the capital. Adrian directed smaller, faster human-led squadrons to intercept. They darted through space, weaving unpredictably, targeting weak points in shields and engines. Union commanders were confused, unprepared for such improvisation. Adrian's voice came over the comms, calm and commanding. "Focus fire on the leading ships. Do not get distracted by numbers. Trust your instincts. Use the terrain, the asteroid fields, the debris, to your advantage. Move before they expect it. Move faster than they can think." The enemy's capital ship, massive and heavily armed, moved toward the heart of the city. If it reached the central command hub, the battle could be lost. Adrian gritted his teeth. "I'll take the flagship," he said, and Lyra's eyes widened slightly, though she did not argue. "It's too dangerous for a small fleet to handle alone. I'll board it, disable its weapons, and force it to retreat, or destroy it if I must." He reminded himself of the child he had saved decades ago, the reason humans had been remembered. Courage and sacrifice, he thought, had always defined them. This was no different. As his fighter launched, he saw the Union capital ship looming ahead, larger than anything he had faced before. Missiles streaked past him, laser fire illuminating space in sharp streaks. Adrian's hands moved instinctively, dodging, weaving, calculating. Every moment mattered. Every decision could mean life or death, not just for him, but for the capital below and the millions depending on the Empire's survival. He approached the flagship, analyzing its shields and weapon arrays. Its defenses were formidable, but Adrian noticed patterns, repeating sequences in targeting systems, a brief lag in response to unpredictable movement. Humans exploited patterns. That was the difference. He engaged thrusters in erratic bursts, using the ship's momentum to slip through firing arcs, then struck weak points in the shields. Inside the enemy vessel, Adrian initiated boarding protocols, breaching the hull with precision explosives. He moved through corridors, evading automated defenses, disabling energy barriers, and neutralizing Union officers with efficiency. Every step was calculated, every move deliberate. This was human ingenuity at its finest, resourceful, bold, and fearless. Finally, he reached the central weapons control room. Massive consoles blinked with activity, showing targeting data for the capital city below. Adrian worked quickly, rerouting power, shutting down weapon arrays, and overriding systems. The Union commanders, confused by the sudden malfunction, scrambled to respond, but Adrian was already several steps ahead. "Humans act when they must," he whispered almost to himself as he completed the final override. A pulse of energy surged through the ship's systems, disabling its main weapons. Union fighters outside, suddenly without support, began to falter. Adrian launched himself back into his fighter, weaving through debris, narrowly avoiding destruction. From the capital's viewing platforms, Lyra watched the enemy flagship falter. Her troops cheered as Union formations broke apart, losing cohesion. The tide of battle turned, not through brute strength alone, but through strategy, speed, and daring, the hallmarks of human action. Adrian guided his fighter alongside Lyra's fleet, coordinating strikes, targeting critical supply ships, and ensuring the Union could not regroup easily. The battlefield, once chaotic, now bent to his influence. Ships moved with precision, combining alien technology and human improvisation into a seamless force. Hours passed, and the Union's assault collapsed. Their fleets retreated in disarray, some destroyed, others fleeing toward distant systems. The capital and outer colonies were safe, for now. Adrian's hands were sore, body exhausted, but his mind remained sharp. He had faced impossible odds and survived, just as humans always had. When the final Union ships disappeared beyond the system's edge, Lyra approached Adrian, her eyes shining with gratitude and pride. "You've done it," she said softly. "The Empire stands because of you. You've reminded everyone why humans are not just legends, they are heroes. Humans inspired you, yes, but your people fought bravely too. You led them well, you acted with courage just as I tried to teach them. That is why the Empire survives. Because of that, humans are remembered, respected, and now, we owe them more than we can express." Courage, sacrifice, and ingenuity had made a difference, not just in one life, but in the lives of millions. The celebration that followed was modest. The Empire's forces repaired damages, treated the wounded, and prepared for future threats. Adrian and Lyra remained on the flagship, overlooking the city from high above. The stars stretched endlessly, and for the first time in decades, Adrian felt a deep sense of peace. "You've given us a second chance," Lyra said quietly. "A chance to survive, to grow, to unite with humans and face whatever comes next. I will never forget it. One action, one choice can shape the future. That's why we fight. That's why we survive. That's why we matter." 50 years ago, he had thought his life ended when he saved a single child. Now he understood that his sacrifice had created a legacy that no one, not humans, not aliens, could erase. Courage had shaped history. Humanity had left its mark on the stars. The night passed quietly. Adrian stood alone on the viewing deck later, staring at the stars beyond the city's lights. He thought of the child in the pod, of the life he had saved, and the galaxy that had changed because of one human choice. And deep inside, he felt the truth of Lyra's words. Humans could not be forgotten because humans acted when it mattered, and action, above all else, shaped the future. Adrian clenched his fists, determination blazing in his eyes. The battle had been won, but the galaxy was vast and threats would always emerge. Yet he knew humans would face them because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, they inspired. And now the galaxy would remember that lesson forever. The galaxy felt quieter after the battle. The fleets that had once blazed across the Orion cluster now drifted back to their stations, damaged but victorious. Adrian Vale stood on the deck of Lyra's flagship, gazing at the stars that stretched endlessly before him. The emptiness of space was both calm and heavy, a reminder that though one battle had ended, countless challenges still awaited. Lyra approached silently, her footsteps soft against the polished floor. Her presence carried the weight of an empire and the warmth of someone who had grown up remembering the life Adrian had given her. She stopped beside him and looked out at the stars. "It is done," she said quietly. "The Krathic Union will think twice before challenging our empire again. Humanity, your people, will be remembered." The thought filled him with a strange mix of pride, humility, and awe. "You know," Adrian said after a long pause, "I never thought one small act, saving a child, could lead to all this. I just did what any human would do, what I thought was right at the moment. You chose to act when others hesitated. That choice shaped the galaxy. I am alive because of you. My empire thrives because of you. And now, humanity has a place among the stars it could never have imagined." But Lyra's words reminded him that sometimes, even a single act could ripple across time and space, creating consequences far greater than he could have imagined. The council called a meeting to formalize what had already begun: humanity's recognition across the galaxy. Representatives from allied systems gathered, Their ships docked at the capital's spaceport. They came not just to celebrate a victory, but to honor a species that had inspired courage and ingenuity for decades. Adrian observed them from the council chamber, noting the diversity of shapes, languages, and technologies. Yet all of them shared one unspoken understanding. They owed their survival, at least in part, to humans. Lyra stood at the center of the chamber, her voice carrying across the gathered assembly. Today, we recognize the humans who have shaped our galaxy. Their courage, their ingenuity, and their willingness to act in the face of impossible odds have preserved life and hope across countless worlds. We owe them fealty, respect, and alliance. Alien representatives glanced at one another, some hesitant, some curious. Then slowly they began to bow not just to Lyra, but in acknowledgement of the humans she spoke of. The gesture was symbolic, yes, but it carried immense meaning, a recognition that humanity's influence extended far beyond their numbers. Adrian felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Lyra smiling at him. This is your moment, Adrian, not just for yourself, but for every human who ever acted with courage and heart. Stand tall. Humans, Adrian began, voice steady though deep with emotion. We do not act for recognition. We act because it is right. We act because courage, hope, and sacrifice matter. The galaxy does not owe us anything, but when humans are needed, we respond. That is our nature. That is what it means to be human. Lyra nodded proudly, and even skeptical council members bowed their heads in respect. Adrian realized that this acknowledgement was more than honor. It was trust, an alliance that would endure across generations. Humanity now had a seat among the stars, not by conquest, but by courage and character. After the assembly, Lyra led Adrian to a private chamber overlooking the capital city. From this vantage point, the world below seemed serene, illuminated by artificial lights that stretched across the sprawling metropolis. She turned to him, her eyes soft but determined. Adrian, there is something I must do, something that honors both your sacrifice and the people you represent. Not just to the humans who serve in the Empire, but to every human across the galaxy. You saved me, and through that act, you have saved countless lives. Humanity will always have allies here, and the Empire will stand as a testament to your courage. Lyra, I don't know what to say, he whispered. You don't need to say anything, she replied. Your actions have already spoken. This vow ensures that the legacy of humans will not fade, and that your people will have a place in shaping the galaxy's future. One act of courage had created a legacy stronger than any weapon, greater than any fleet. In the days that followed, Adrian worked with Lyra and the Council to establish new alliances, integrating human strategies with alien technologies and governance. He trained fleets, advised diplomats, and ensured that humans were recognized not just as warriors, but as innovators, leaders, and protectors. His influence spread, and with it, the values he had always believed in: courage, selflessness, and ingenuity. Despite the victories and recognition, Adrian never forgot the moment that had started it all, the moment he had chosen to save a child in a burning pod. It had seemed simple then, almost instinctive, yet it had set into motion events that shaped the course of the galaxy. He realized that heroes were not always born in grand ceremonies or on great battlefields. Sometimes they were born in small, quiet acts of bravery. Lyra often accompanied him on tour of the Empire, introducing him to leaders of distant systems. Everywhere he went, he was treated not as a soldier, but as a symbol of humanity itself. Children looked up to him, adults respected him, and even former enemies watched cautiously, knowing the human touch could change outcomes. Adrian felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Humans had a legacy in the stars, one that could endure for centuries. One evening, as the twin moons of the capital rose over the horizon, Adrian and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The air was cool, filled with the soft hum of alien energy and distant activity. Lyra turned to him, a gentle smile on her face. Do you see what you've done, Adrian? The galaxy will remember humans, not just for courage in battle, but for the choices that define who we are. Now I see that it was only the beginning. Humans endure, humans act, and sometimes that action shapes worlds. Adrian felt a deep sense of peace, the kind he had never known in all his battles. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but humanity had survived, endured, and inspired. And in this moment, Adrian understood the full meaning of his journey. He thought of the countless humans across the stars, colonists, soldiers, explorers, each contributing in small ways to a larger story. Their courage, resourcefulness, and willingness to act had brought hope to billions, And now, the galaxy would carry that hope forward. As night fell over the capital, Adrian made a silent promise. He would continue to serve, to guide, and to inspire. Humans had shown what they were capable of, but the story was far from over. The stars still held dangers, challenges, and opportunities, and humanity would face them just as it always had. Lyra looked at him one last time before leaving the balcony. "Rest, Adrian. Tomorrow we begin a new chapter. The galaxy will need your guidance, your wisdom, and your courage. But tonight, we celebrate what you have given us." The Empire would honor humans, the children of distant worlds would grow up inspired by their courage, and the galaxy would remember the name Adrian Vale. But more than that, humanity itself had earned a place among the stars, not through domination, not through conquest, but through the choices that defined courage, hope, and selflessness. And for the first time in 50 years, Adrian felt truly home, not just on a ship or a planet or in an empire, but in the knowledge that humans mattered, that they had always mattered, that the stars themselves now remembered the name of one human who had dared to act when it mattered most. He smiled, letting the quiet of the night fill him. One small act, a lifetime of courage, and the galaxy had been forever changed. And somewhere deep in the future, he knew humanity's legacy would continue to shine among the stars.